Hey, what's up guys, VFX Bro, and I'm going to run through a visual effects breakdown of a couple of the shots that we had in FInalCutKing's latest video, Modern Day Assassin's Creed. And so one of the opening shots we had here was FInalCutKing himself perched out over what appeared to be this building. He was right on the edge, very dangerous. Again, don't try this at home. Oh wait, what? It's actually not over a building, and we can see here that he's just perched out over this lame ledge on this lame building. So not that cool, but what is cool is the VFX that we're gonna pull off in this shot. And so we can take a look here. What we did first was we motion tracked this. We did a 3D motion track in PF Track. If you want to learn how to do some 3D motion tracking, go ahead and check out my tutorial by clicking on the link right here, and we're gonna teach you how to do some motion tracking. But what we did was we motion tracked this shot here. We can see, scrubbing through this, that we have these null objects placed in the scene. If I go to a top view, we can see here that we have our null objects lined up against this wall. And what I did was I placed these different items along the wall so that we'd have some nice solid points to track onto. You can see if we look on the top level, you can see that we have the camera moving right here in our virtual set, just like it would be in real life. So pretty cool. And I'm gonna go back to our single view here, and we can see that if I turn this on to full res, we had these sunglasses. Not the best tracker, but it's all we had at the moment, so feel free to get gorilla with it when necessary. And you can see we had some glasses, lens cap, random objects, some coins there. We wanted to make a nice line here with our trackers because we knew we'd be adding in a wall there. So we used those trackers, and that gave us a really solid track. And the next step was to add in the wall. So we had a wall placed right here in front of him, and the way that we actually did that was went to a real parking garage and just took a ton of photos from different angles. So if we take a look here in our composition, okay, so we have this building that was added in here, and if we scrub around it, we can see that we have a shift in perspective as we move around. Pretty cool. And the way that we did that was by not making this, we didn't 3D model this. It's not a 3D model. It wasn't made in Cinema 4D. We made it all here in After Effects. And the way we were able to get the consistent lighting was by actually taking real pictures of a real building. So we have here our different layers, a ton of different layers of these photos that we shot. So if I double click on this layer right here, what we have is just a masked out photo. If I were to double click on it, you would see that if I take off the mask, that it was just a photo that I took at the real parking garage, and I just masked it out for that side right there. I'm going to go ahead and turn the mask back on. And now if we take a look at some other pics, what we have here is the entire front wall. So what I did was actually duplicated this wall here, and we have 3 different copies. And that was to extend the wall, and then we also had a top layer with the different copies. But if we double click here, we can see that what we had was just a picture of the front wall with all of these different masks added onto it. Now, something you want to note here that I did in order to help with this mask, I made sure that everything was lined up perfectly before adding the mask. So if we look at this file here, I added some optics compensation because the original shot had a little bit of lens distortion. You can see this is the original shot, and then I just altered it a little bit. So if we turn on our grid here, something good to note is that we can take a look and we can see some pretty detailed lines here. And what we're going to do is we can see how without the optics compensation, we can see some bending here. And if we look at the edges, we can see it's not lined up perfectly. So we added in this optics compensation just in effects here on the right, and you're just going to eye it out and get it to a place where we have some solid straight line. And so we brought that in, made it a 3D layer, and we just lined it all up. And so we had several different layers. We had our main wall, we had layers for our different pillars from the side, and then even these guys right here were added in later. We even added in different shadows. So if we solo this out, you can see, really hard to see, but right around here you can see just a tiny little shadow that we added in just to give this the feel as though it was really there. So that's how we got the wall. We can see that we have our camera track, which makes it look as though it's moving And then we brought into another comp. So we can see here that we have all this stuff going on in the background that really doesn't give for an accurate perspective. Let's take a look at our street too. What we did for the street on the bottom right here was, that was also a 3D layer. But you can see here that we just took pictures from above and then stitched them all together. So if we double click here and double click again, we can see we have a picture from the top. And in order to get it straight on, we actually had to do quite a bit, because the original shot was like this from the side, and then we make it into a 3D layer and rotate it so that it looks as though we're looking at it from straight above. We used the Canon 5D to take these pictures, so we have a lot of res to work with, and we also use the optics compensation in this shot too to help with our lens distortion and give us an accurate look from straight above. So that right there is what it looks like all sketched together. And then we moved on to our last part of the shot here. And then finally what we did was we changed the background. So pretty cool script that we use here. You can go ahead and download it in the link in the description, panoramic script. And what that allows us to do is change the background really easily, and as the camera moves around, so does the background. So definitely a script you want to take a look at. It made it really easy. Literally all I had to do was drag in our footage. So let's take a look here. I'm going to just show you quickly how I did this. We have here our panoramic image. Just grabbed it off Google. So a pretty cool script. All I had to do was run the panoramic script. The instructions are really easy. Basically all you have to do is select your background image, which I had this Kansas photo right here, and you're just going to run the script. Again, to run script, you just, with this file selected, all you have to do is go File, Script, and then run the script. Go ahead and download that. There's instructions on the download on how to use it, and it just works in really easily when you have a motion track shot. So we had that as the background, and to key out Zach here, I used the sky as a key, and there's a really awesome tutorial that videocopilot.net that you can use to change the sky background. So that's what I used for that, and then I had Zach do a little bit of minor rotoscoping adjustments. I made some final adjustments to this shot here by adding some grain. So we changed the curves here a little bit, made it a little bit bluer. We changed the levels a little bit, make it a little bit darker, and then we added this grain. This grain is a great tool because if we look at the details, we have some added film grain. We know that this is a still image, and so we're not going to get a whole lot of grain with those still images, but when we add this film grain here, it really makes it look as though it was shot on film. So we can see here this is without. We're going to change this to a preview, and we can see what it looks like with and without the film grain. So this is without the film grain right here. We zoom in, we can see that this adds a film grain and gives us a nice video film look to our footage. So this has been a VFX breakdown of the opening shot. We're going to go ahead and move on to one of the other shots taken from the Assassin's Creed video.